Hello and welcome to another Sideshow Con exclusive interview. We are joined by two incredible guests today. First, we have Chris Sanders, a writer, director, and cartoonist known for working on incredible works like Lilo and Stitch, The Croods, How to Train Your Dragon. And we have the incredible Jessica Steele-Sanders, who co-wrote Rescue Sirens, a series about mermaids, right? With Chris. So, we have an extraordinarily exciting announcement to make later, but first we got to put it in context. We got to get to know the wonderful team behind the creation. So, Chris, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm really excited to talk to you because you guys both have an incredible wealth of experience in the creative world, and I wanna pick your brains and get to know what it's like.
Cool. That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's start with Lilo and Stitch, because that's where I'm drawn to right away. Can you just tell us a little bit about your experience working on Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah, I mean, that was my first time directing. I had done some writing on prior films like Mulan, but that was my first time directing, and that was a very unique project because it was an original. You don't see too many projects that are just a from scratch kind of thing. A lot of times it's an adaptation like Beauty and the Beast. And this one was especially unusual because it was an idea that I had that I pitched to the studio. And in order to pitch it, I had to draw a little, I guess it was in essence a children's book. And I created this little thing so that people would know what I was talking about. And they said, yeah, they eventually came to the point where they said, we'll do the movie on the condition that it looked like these drawings. And so it was a very unique project in that it had my voice. It carried my actual drawing style. So that's kind of a once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting. And that you mentioned your style. You do have an extraordinarily distinct style. I was reading that they had to make a guide to your style. Is that right?
Yeah, one of the first things that happened after they said that was, "I have a style," is what came out of my mouth, and they said, "Oh yeah." And there's a very talented artist at the studio named Sue Nichols, and she was a great artist, but she was also very good at boiling things down to their elements. So they gave her the task of creating a bit of a manual so that everybody that was going to be working on the film could understand more about why my style looks like it does. Nobody was more interested to see this little book than I was, because I don't perceive myself to have any particular style. So reading this little step-by-step manual where everything I do is taken apart and identified was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, that's extremely interesting. There are a few pictures online that I look through myself because I like to do my research, and frankly, I've been a fan of your art for a long time. One of the things that it mentions in the book, or in the booklet, if you will, it says calligraphy is used to accent the weight of the 3D forms. So how do you connect to 3D when making your 2D art?
So I think to start with, I do try to imply as much volume as possible in any volume and gravity in my drawings. It's for me, it's impossible to draw a straight line. Everything's going to have a little bit of a curve to it and a little bit of weight to it and stuff like that. So I think that when you're drawing something, you're already trying to see it in your own head as a dimensional thing. That's how you know where to put these lines to imply this sort of volume. The step into CG for me was my first experience taking one of those animated drawings and trying to actually make it into something dimensional. And it's an art. That is a rare, I think, skill to be able to look at a drawing and just, it always ultimately comes down to somebody translating a drawing into something dimensional. That's where the rubber meets the road as far as a style, because one of the things I've discovered in seeing any of my drawings turned into something dimensional, or anybody's drawing, is that it's a battle of just a few pixels here and there, just a change, just a little tiny nudge here and there will transform something from one thing to another. So it's especially, I think, critical when doing a face. And that's I think where people go to first.
Yeah, thank you. So this is, maybe I'm using my English major too much here, but I have noticed a thread pulled through a lot of your stories, both of your stories, and I want to ask both of you this next question here. Lilo and Stitch is on an island. The Croods make their journey all the way to the ocean. Rescue Sirens is about mermaids. What's your connection with water, Jessica?
Oh, well, I grew up in Florida, and so I was always around water. I lived there for 3 decades, and all of my jobs revolved around water as well. I was a lifeguard for a summer, and I worked at a couple of different aquatic facilities with marine mammals and marine life, and it's the thing I love most in the world. I don't think I could live in a landlocked state, and so anything having to do with the water. In the case of Rescue Sirens, it was set in Miami Beach, which is a place that I love for so many reasons. It's this melting pot. It's got great architecture, great colors. It's got that Art Deco and pastel and neon, and it's set right on the ocean. Like it couldn't be better. So yeah, everything that I love is tied to water somehow. So when it came to writing Rescue Sirens, really, it's all the stuff that I like, just all rolled into one and tied up with a mermaid bow. So yeah, that's the explanation when it comes to pretty much anything I'm going to do is going to be water related.
Okay, and Chris, is that also true for you?
It would be the exact opposite for me.
I was waiting.
Because I grew up really, really far from the ocean. Colorado is landlocked, and the best you're going to get there is like a mountain stream that is so cold that if you like try to cross like a 10-foot wide stream, by the time you get to the other side, your feet will be completely numb. So I think I'm drawn to a more exotic locale because to me, it really is exotic. It's like something that I didn't grow up with. But I would watch TV and see images of Hawaii and California and stuff like that.
And you used to go to Florida on vacation.
We would go to Florida, we'd get in the station wagon and take a drive to the coast if we did that for that. Yeah. So for me, it's very exotic. And thus, it's the same kind of allure, but because I didn't grow up with it.
Right.
It's exotic for you and like it's home.
It's home for her and it's exotic for me.
That's so interesting. I'm sorry, Jessica?
Oh, I was saying we can come at it from like 2 different angles and meet in the middle.
Yeah, and you guys have. Can you talk a little bit about the collaboration with Rescue Sirens?
Oh, golly. Well,
yeah.
Do you want to start off with that? Because you had always wanted to do a...
Yeah, I love mermaids and
You have a lot of mermaid artwork.
I have a lot of mermaid-related artwork that's just really, really fun to draw. And I had tried to come up with some sort of a mermaid angle for a story for a long time, but I could just never really make it work. And one day, Jess walked into the living room and pretty much whole cloth pitched an angle on a mermaid story that I thought that's it. You've done it. You've really figured out something new and fresh. It was a great story with great characters, and it had a great structure to it just from the get-go. So I was like, I would love to work on this with you. It's very inspiring, yeah. And
for me, it all came about because of the title. The title is a pun. The word siren can be used to refer to a mermaid. And one day I heard the fire department down the street, one of the rescue vehicles was on its way out, and I heard sirens. I said, "Oh, rescue sirens, haha, lifeguard mermaids." And said, it's terrible, terrible wordplay, which I love. And I thought, well, that could be a pretty cool idea. And when it comes to mermaids, there's a conceit that mermaids get splashed, and when they're in their human form, they turn back into mermaids. Like, okay, well, you can't really be a lifeguard if every time you go in the water, like, oh, your secret's exposed, right? So I came up with a little different approach to that and wrote out a pitch, to Chris, and if you're curious about what the pitch is, it became the first chapter, the prologue of the first book, Rescue Sirens: A Search for the Atavist. And what's great is that Chris and I are very complementary when it comes to our writing strengths, I think. George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones, he talks about you have two different types of writers. You have architects and you have gardeners. And gardeners like to plant seeds and then, watch them sprout and see them grow and see where they head.
See where they take you.
And see where they take you in a really, organic kind of way. And architects like to build things and have a lot of structure right off the bat. And so between the two of us, we wind up like building a pergola with foliage on.
Yeah, I'm far less structured, and Jess has that wonderful structure that you really need if you're going to have a story that's going to hold together.
So having a writing partner is really incredible. I've written quite a bit just, recreationally, I guess. I used to write in a journal like every single day for the better part of a decade. But the problem with writing something creative, fictional, etc., is for me, I would get writer's block and then boom, I'd be done. But when you're writing with a partner, you get writer's block and then you can toss it to your partner. And if they get writer's block or they have a problem with something, they toss it to you. And so we didn't write twice as fast. We wrote, exponentially. Yeah. So much faster. The first book, it's like 100 and something pages, it's a novella. It's longer than The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Okay.
But we wrote that in, it was about 5 weeks.
Yeah, it really went. It went relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because of that nice structure.
Yeah, so
characters that make sense, nice structure.
Yeah, so we work really well together, and we're looking forward to getting back to it because we have the second and third books already like laid out.
Yeah.
We just have to actually get around to writing them, which you would think we'd be able to do that with the whole pandemic thing, but we've been playing catch up from Chris's latest film.
Okay. I don't actually know the pitch of the Rescue Sirens, and I know that not all of our audience might. Do you want to share that with us real quick?
Golly.
Just so we know a little bit better what we're talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. The idea in the world of Rescue Sirens is that all humans are actually descended from mermaids, and that mermaids can change into legs at will whenever they want to. They can change, they have agency and control over that, so they can change into legs, change back into a tail, but they are still tied to the ocean and tied to water. If they go for a day without getting wet, they're going to start to feel ill. By day 3, their specialized lungs dry up, they lose the ability to change back into a tail, and they become human. And that's where humans came from in our little world. So in modern day, the idea is that mermaids always wanted to look after the humans that had, the mermaids that had gone on land and that they'd lost, their lost kin who couldn't come back to the ocean. But whenever humans went out on ships, went out sailing, when they were by the beach, the mermaids that were still in the ocean would watch over them. And the best way to do that in today's world is as lifeguards. So if you've ever, lived in a beach town, lifeguards come in, you see them all over the beach during the summer, and then after the summer's over, it's like they just kind of disappear. Where do they go? And in Rescue Sirens, these are young mermaids and mermen. Eventually, the characters at this point are female, but we will have boys at some point. But it's young mermaids and mermen who go up topside, where they learn about the human world. They try to teach humans to live in harmony with the environment, and they also protect humans while they're at it. Furthermore, with Rescue Sirens, the idea of an atavist, if you're not familiar with an atavistic adaptation, it's something that used to exist that no longer does. So for like dolphins with little squiggly legs, dolphins used to have legs. Occasionally, they'll show up with these little vestigial legs. For rescue sirens, the atavism would be a human with the ability to become a mermaid. And one of our main characters, Kelby, winds up being what's called an atavist. And so she ends up learning that she's a mermaid and falling in with this group of lifeguard mermaids living in Miami Beach. And so the first book is it's essentially her origin story and setting up further stories with this one group of mermaids living in Miami. It's a lot of fun to write. There's so much potential with it. The characters are great fun. The setting's amazing. We have so many ideas for it. So we really want to, continue to move forward with that. It's a good project.
That is extraordinarily exciting. Thank you for sharing all of that with us.
Yeah. I'm a little rusty when it comes to explaining it, so it took me.
Well, Chris, I think we should start leaning in towards this announcement here.
Yeah, cool.
We are proud and excited to announce our partnership with the incredibly talented Chris Sanders. Chris and Sideshow will produce high-end collectible statues that faithfully bring Sanders' whimsical artwork to life, rendering some of his 2D art into 3D. The upcoming series will feature his signature vibrant pinup sensibilities and nostalgic aesthetic. The first piece that we're going to debut in the series will be the Pumpkin Witch, a magical Halloween-themed pinup figure. Tell us about the Pumpkin Witch, because I've got a lot of questions and I want to hear all about it.
The place that she appeared was which sketchbook?
It was 7, wasn't it?
I was going to say 7. We always have like a centerfold in our sketchbooks that you can like fold out and stuff like that. And on sketchbook 7, it was this witch. It was just something I sketched one day, and I showed it to Jess, and she said, "You know what? You should take that to finish. Go ahead and like ink it and color it up, and that would be a great addition to like sketchbook 7." So that's exactly what I did. Like I don't think I was going to take it to finish until you suggested it. Anyway, so I took it to finish. It just had a lot. I thought it was a lot. It was a very charming thing. Like I liked the volume. I liked that there was a little bit of story going on in it. I really liked the colors. It was really fun to color it and bring it to finish. So anyway, a thing that I love to engage with. I love Halloween vibes.
Yes.
I love doing Halloween kind
anything
of drawings.
Spooky, anything.
I tend towards tropical or Halloween because I guess it's a big favorite of mine. So I'm really stoked that was the piece that they suggested that we do first. What we did, I think we just added a little bit more story to it. We developed a little bit. We took the drawing as the starting point, and then I think we did a good job developing a little bit of story with it.
Perfect. We're really excited, and you even have a little something there, right?
Oh, is that okay if we? Yeah.
That's up to you.
You want it?
Yeah. So this is that drawing. This is the one that we started with.
And that's where it all started, right? That's from the sketchbook.
Yes, this is the original drawing that we started with, and seeing it faithfully reproduced has been thrilling.
And that's a interesting point there. You mentioned faithfully reproduced. You're talking about the transition from 2D to 3D.
Yeah.
Is this your first transition from 2D to 3D with your art?
This is not. No. I've done
okay.
Yes, yeah. I did a vinyl. I can't even tell you what year it was, but I did a vinyl.
That was like 07 or something.
Because it was one of the first cons I attended. I brought that.
Yeah.
So I did a vinyl, and then Jess and I collaborated to do a couple of, I would call them like lava figurines. There were this sort of 70s era souvenir thing that you could buy in Hawaii. I think they were pretty inexpensive. It would be this little figurine that was made of crushed lava that had then been molded into a figurine. And I really like them a lot because they're just sort of this glossy ebony sort of thing with really no color, just one thing. So we were talking about it and said, let's do our own version of that. So that was number 2 and number 3, I think, were those 2 figures. And then we collaborated on a mermaid sculpt. And that's
perfect.
And that was something that we had talked about for a while. So we collaborated on this mermaid sculpt, and that was sculpted by a very talented guy named Anders.
Anders Ehrenborg. He's amazing.
Really, really good. And in the past, it has definitely been a struggle to get my drawing into that 3D reality. There's just something, we talked about this, it's something very elusive. And I myself don't always know what to say when I'm looking at the sculpture, I'm looking at the drawing, and I'm like, they're not quite there, but I can't tell you why. Like every little element seems right. But we started working with Anders Ehrenborg, and he just got it. Like the very first like sketch that he made in 3D was like, whatever is the essence, you have captured it.
Yeah.
And he did such a great job sculpting Nimue, this mermaid figurine for us.
Yeah, he really,
Yeah.
this was back in like 2013,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah.
And Nimue did phenomenally. We had a capped pre-order, and then we had open orders, and they sold out both times. They sold out like that. And one thing that's really exciting is for ever since people have been asking, you know, will you re-release Nimue? Will you, you know, I didn't get an opportunity to get Nimue. She was a limited edition. But for everybody who is either bummed that they missed out on Nimue, or they want to, you know, add to the family, as it were, we are partnering once again with Anders for Pumpkin Witch.
Yeah. Yeah, it was our first thing, was like, let's go to Anders and see if he's got time to do this. And he did have time to do it. So that's where we started.
It's really, it's
Yeah.
the dream combination, Sideshow and Anders. Like, oh my gosh, what more could we ask for?
Yeah, this is really, for us, this is extremely thrilling
Yeah.
to work with Sideshow on this as well.
We're absolutely just as excited. I want to mention that we're waiting to see the proper reveal of the 3D figure, but you don't have to wait to see more Pumpkin Witch, because you can go and watch the inking of your red line.
Right.
Is that the right term? Red line?
Yeah.
Yeah. The inking of the red line for the Pumpkin Witch at side.show/pumpkin ink. So we've got that link set up to take it straight to the video. And I watched it, and there's something very soothing about watching you do that. Is it soothing to ink when you've got that design?
Yeah, I think you gotta be in the right headspace to do it. You just need to be calm and focused on this one thing. And it's kind of not mesmerizing.
I was gonna say it's like meditative almost.
It is a little bit, yeah.
You get
Because
in the
like,
zone.
you've got to really relax when you do it. If you're too like uptight, you're not going to get a good line. And a lot of these drawings that I do have these really, frankly, just really long curving lines. And you can't really bobble them. And you got to be kind of the right. You got to be calm. I usually do it early in the morning. Just it's the right time of day for me to ink and stuff.
I was gonna say, it has to be cool enough that your hand slides across the paper and it doesn't get stuck.
Yeah, and it can be a lot of fun. Like one of the things I still love about doing traditional art is that there's an original. And so it's very important to me to like eventually get to the point where I'm putting ink on paper, even if part of the process later on might be on the computer.
Coloring is digital, because you can try a lot of different things without worrying about screwing up the original.
Yeah, you don't have to risk that beautiful original. But I love doing an original ink whenever I get to do a drawing like that.
And it was so much fun to put together that video. It's sped up either 2 or 2.5 times.
Yeah.
So it looks really, really, you know, fast, but it's just slow, smooth lines. And it's so fun to take that and cut it all up. You know, it's a couple hours. It was what?
Oh yeah.
Was that like 3 hours?
About 3 hours of inking.
So taking 3 hours and condensing it down to about 5 minutes was a lot of fun. It was a neat challenge to put that together. And then you found a great piece of music, which really made all of it. Do yourselves a favor and definitely listen to it with the sound on, because it adds a lot to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So once again, go to side.show/pumpkin ink to watch that video. And if you want to stay up to date on all of Sideshow's upcoming releases, go to side.show/coming soon. So for more information about our newsletter, to be the first to know about any upcoming collectibles, including the Pumpkin Witch figure that we're going to be making with Chris Sanders, go to side.show/newsletter. You can follow Chris Sanders at Chris Sanders Art. Thank you very much for that. It's been so wonderful talking about rescue sirens and talking about your process. I think I'm going to say the term flow state to bring in that water thread again, just because I got
nice.
It's the English major in me. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Jessica, so much for joining us. We're really excited to see your art and see Pumpkin Witch coming through the pipeline. So thank you for joining us.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a wonderful day. And stay tuned, all of you people watching at home, for more updates and content about Sideshow Con. And don't forget to let your geek side show.